You just touched on probably a very hot button, not only for IT organizations, but what we're seeing in business as the next generation of workforce comes into play. The concept of consumerization or Web 2.0, new technologies, new ways of thinking about technology and how we use it in our consumer world is spilling over into companies, something like social media, phone devices, and a number of other things. How are you seeing those trends impact both the workforce, the expectation of the workforce, which is very different today, and actually those expectations of the workforce impact IT. They're coming in and expecting these things. They're already trained on the technology. In many cases, they know the technology even better than some of the people in the IT organizations. How are you seeing those workforce dynamics and some of those things that we have access to outside the company impacting how companies and workforces are evolving today?
Yeah, that's a big question, and that's like a hugely important one today. I mean, maybe let me start with an observation. You know, if you think about the way most of our companies are run internally, if I can say kind of the management architecture, not the IT architecture, the management architecture, it's kind of a center-to-end architecture. It reflects, if I had an IT analogy, it's the way a big telephone switch used to work, right? Where all of the intelligence was in the central switch. If you want to add a new feature, you reprogram the switch and then, you know, whatever. If you think about the web, which, by the way, is far more adaptable and innovative and engaging than any organization is, right? The web already has all these qualities we have to build in our organizations. If you think about the web, it's built on an end-to-end architecture, right? It's mostly periphery and very little center. And I think it's a very interesting kind of metaphor today, because I would argue, just as a for instance, one of the reasons I think that companies often have a very difficult time adapting is that in companies, we still have a lot of centralization. Not just operationally, but if you think about it, most companies, who really controls the conversation over strategy and direction and where we go next? It tends to be a small group at the top. Well, you know, we know from like years and years of studying social systems that the more kind of centralized something is, the less adaptable it is. So the web is going to teach us a huge kind of number of very, very important lessons about how do you build something that is truly adaptable and can change and exploits all of this collective imagination and wisdom. And you're absolutely right. This next generation of folks coming to work, you know, those of us who have a little bit of gray hair, for us the web is a tool. For them it's the operating system for their lives, right? So, and the experience of growing up on the web has shaped them in ways that will be true for the rest of their lives, right? They're never going to surrender a certain set of beliefs. So, for example, if you've grown up on the web, you believe that every idea should compete on an equal footing, right? And so no idea should get a free pass because it comes from an SVP or an EVP or whatever. It's like, let the ideas compete, let, you know, some kind of a peer review process, and let's see like what's really good. So they want to work in organizations where that's true. Number two, they believe that what should matter is your contribution, not your credentials. When you post something to YouTube or you put something up on, you know, you write a blog, no one says, did you go to film school or did you go to journalism school, right? Was it funny? Was it good? And they expect the same thing, right? Give me a chance. Judge me on what I do, not what school I came from, not the last job I had, and so on. And just as one more example, third and kind of very critically, it's interesting, you know, if you think about the web, there are all kinds of hierarchies on the web. If you go to any discussion forum, there's some people like have a bigger share of voice and have more influence and more posts. And, you know, you go to Amazon, you know, the top reviewers and so on. But if you think of all those hierarchies on the web, they're all built bottom up, right? No, Jeff Bezos at Amazon doesn't come and say, you know, you're the new top reviewer at Amazon. That like happens. So I think when people are coming to work now, they want to see organizations where the hierarchies are really built more bottom up. And the people who have leadership positions are there because people actually want to follow them rather than somebody said you're the leader. So I have a sense that this next generation is really going to want to work in organizations where the internal social reality mirrors the social reality of the web. And that's not going to happen all at once or overnight. But if it's not happening at all or happening real slowly, I think a company's going to have a really hard time in attracting the best and the brightest.